so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life? Well, that's another, which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. I'm the reflection and extension of you who will be here each Wednesday interviewing a different consciousness changemaker. And on the other 4 weekdays, leading the way to ensure that your perspective is consistently expanded, your vibration is constantly elevated, and your heart is overflowing and full. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online, and you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. All right, all you positive heads, welcome back to another episode. It is a magical Monday here in the studio, and I am not alone. I decided I would continue my long, lovely weekend with the wonderful Sonya Sophia. I actually was in Austin and stayed with Sonya, and we decided we had such a good time. We had to continue the fun, and Sonya is here with me, even though I'm back in California. We're connected this morning. Hey, Sonya, how are you?
Good morning, Brandon. So happy to be with you again.
I know. The only thing that's a little different today is I had to make my own coffee, and for that, it took a little getting used to. But we had such a wonderful weekend at the Conscious Media Festival there in Austin, in your hometown, and I had the pleasure of getting to speak and share a little bit, and it was such a magical trip, and you were such a lovely host. I so appreciate you. And guys, we decided we would just maybe share a little bit of our takeaways, because there was definitely, it kind of felt like an extension of the Superhero Academy Mastermind for me. It was like, okay, here's another 100 plus amazing people all reflecting magic back to each other. And so I thought we would kind of share, and Sonya is gracious enough to come on and talk a little bit about her perspective and takeaway from this weekend. Before we dive into that, I would like to take a quick moment and read a review on iTunes. You guys know I love my iTunes reviews because, well, they help to fuel my fire for sure, and also to reach new people. And this one came in from Bashwu Alash Diu. I'm sure I butchered that. How this is spelled, it's pretty wild. But the title goes right along with it. Bangarang. Brandon, I love the show. I'll admit some shows are a little out there for me to fully comprehend, but overall, I'm very open-minded. The overall message is so powerful. This podcast is a tool that I've used to explore the mind, mindset, law of attraction, vibrations. This podcast and other tools have really improved my quality of thinking, loving, and living. I'm not quite sure how to exactly explain myself yet. Your good vibrations are so loving and helpful. Thank you. And sending you all the good vibes back. Chelsea Reedy, the cycling archaeologist on Instagram. Oh, cool. Cool. Thanks for telling us how to find you there, Chelsea. And, Sonya, one of the things that I get a lot with these reviews is people saying, I don't have words, or it's like they're kind of, maybe there's some level of insecurity, I think, in all of us about when we step forward and speak, and that being not received or understood, or them coming off a certain way. And, it's kind of like the talk I gave this weekend, like perfect is the enemy of good enough. If you just putting your heart out there, that's what's felt way more than, what energy is encoded in what you're writing is more important than the actual words themselves. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree. A lot of it has to do with, the vibration that's coming from what you're saying. In other words, is this a love-based message, or is this a fear-based message? A love-based message is easier to hear. And then there also are some things that when people are speaking, a couple of things to be mindful of. One of them is to speak from I instead of you. So there is also a way of speaking that helps other people to listen more deeply, which is to speak from the I perspective. My experience is this, instead of saying, well, when you do this and you do that, because people automatically start searching their memory for, do I do this and do I do that? And what we're really trying to communicate is, when I have this experience, I experience this. And granted, it's easier to say you because it's less vulnerable. But when I speak from I'm speaking in a way that people can hear, because they're actually just listening from my experience. They're learning. They're not trying to compare it to themselves. And it's more revealing and more interesting. So those are things to remember, too, for anyone who's writing or speaking out into the world.
Yeah, that's great. That's great insight. And yeah, it's just, once again, it's like, people are so self-critical of themselves, and we're so quick to be self-conscious. And the bottom line is if you're coming from a vulnerable or sincere or well-intended place, it's always going to be met with, oh, this is great. I love this. No matter what, if there's misspellings or, something is off, whatever, none of that, doesn't really matter. So,
yeah, that's what they're listening for. They're listening to the sincerity of your heart and the authenticity of your message.
Yeah. And anyone who is critiquing any of those sorts of things, do you really care that much what they do or don't think? It's sort of like the ultimate prison is being so concerned about others' opinions, but it's part of all of our journey. We've all been there. I think there's not one person who can't relate to that feeling.
Yeah, desperately. I know I've sent out my share of typoed Facebook posts and emails, and just had to get over myself. I thought the world would end if I sent a typo, and it actually didn't.
It turns out it kept going, and people forgot it about 1.2 seconds after they read it.
Yeah.
So, this weekend was so wonderful. And, and by the way, for you guys who haven't reviewed on iTunes, if you would do that, that would make me very happy, and it would certainly help us to reach new people. Also, let me just throw out there to connect with us on Facebook, on the Positive Heads Facebook group, where you can ask questions. And I love taking questions from you guys as well. So I'll be doing that in the coming days. And so, any good questions that have been bubbling up, same thing. Don't be shy. The question you have is probably there's many others who are thinking it. And so whenever you contribute in any way, or the whole benefits. The same thing as whenever you hold back your gift or your insight or your question. Same kind of thing. Everyone, it loses, right? So keep that in mind. Put yourself out there, be vulnerable. Let's move on and talk about some of this weekend. So, I had shared on the last episode, I think last Thursday, I told a little bit about my experience in Costa Rica and some of the magic and, the unfolding of synchronicities and how my ongoing birthday saga story continued to unfold. And what do you know, this weekend, it unfolded just a little bit more. I was talking to the incredible Sandra Walter. And if you guys haven't listened to Sandra when she was on the show a while back, she actually was one of the key speakers at this weekend's event. And she is absolutely incredible, ascension guide and gatekeeper. She lives up in Mount Shasta, California, and spends a lot of time working multidimensionally. And by the way, that episode is 559. Highly, highly recommend it. And we'll talk in a minute a little bit about what she kind of guided us through. That was so powerful as a group on the last day. But when I was talking to her, Sonya, and I don't even know if I shared this with you, I was catching up with her, and her and I were meeting in person for the first time, and I was telling her about my experience in Costa Rica, and then she was telling me how, her and the other gatekeepers and ascension guides are doing all this multidimensional work, how they're having trouble seeing past July. And she said for her, that's very odd. She gets glimpses of timelines and things like that with the work she does. And she's like, for some reason, I can't see past July. And it's, there's something big coming that's good. But like, we're really shifting into, we're really ascending. We're really shifting into this next, like 5D or whatever. And I was like, of course, I threw out, I was like, oh, maybe it's my birthday. I just had all this birthday synchronicity that I shared in the last episode last week. And she's like, oh, what's your birthday? And I'm like, July 28th. And she goes, oh, how funny. That's my dad's birthday. So yet another thread there. And she was super, super amazing. And you had a pretty profound experience during. Maybe you can tell a little bit about kind of what we did and what some of your experience was. Yeah,
I would have to say that being in the space that she created at the end of the festival was my favorite part. It was the air was crackling with electricity. There was maybe 150, 200 people gathered in this tiny room, packed, end to end. And she was asking us to imagine 3 different scenarios and brainstorm in breakout groups on question 1 was, if you had unlimited resources and funding, what would you do and how would you implement changing the world? Great question. The second question was, if we all suddenly got that we were connected and that we were one, that say there was a solar flash and suddenly everyone's kundalini lit up and our chakras aligned and we got who we really are, how would you... The whole world, all at once. What would you do to build the world from there, knowing that we were all in alignment and basically we had dropped all of the emotional and social baggage that we carry. And separation, the illusion of separation. Exactly. And then, which is an awesome question and even a great scenario to imagine and meditate on. Like this is possible. Yeah. For you guys out there, these 3 questions, spend some time with them if you feel called, because they're powerful. And of course, the third, well, you continue. The third one was, imagining those 2 things had already happened. How would we build out the world with our wildest imagination? And what would be possible from there? In other words, would we build airports for aliens? Would we, one of my suggestions was grow our buildings organically like a seashell. And instead of a giant spiral staircase up the middle, we have sleeping chambers that spiral and our heads go towards the center, and we dream and decorate new worlds and universes together with our, spiritual bodies. And we sing songs into mountainsides for entertainment, and it causes the flowers to bloom and the trees to bud, and, just all kinds of beautiful, change the color of our skin at will with our minds. What would it look like in this brand new earth where everything is aligned? Everyone is on, the same wavelength vibration. Everyone's superpowers, as I was talking about last week and, saw more of this weekend, have been activated. Like, what does that new planet look like? Yeah. And how do we interact and what's fun for us? So to really build it out from, here's some positive, doable steps we can take to, okay, now we're here. How does that change reality? And now let's go beyond the beyond. So that was a really, really fun exercise. And one thing that happened for me, Brandon, is very personal, was that about 10 years ago, I was given this idea through meditation when reality TV shows started coming out. And, I've been TV free for 25 years, so I have not been heavily impacted by the quality of programming out in the world, but I've seen and heard enough about it and peeked in to be sort of appalled at what passes as entertainment. It's mostly a distortion of our imagination and taking really graphic and violent and weird, sad, dissonant stories and jabbing, sarcastic, twisted plots and, basically bending our minds into that and saying, hold still and feed yourself with this. And
Right.
it's gotten sadder and heavier and darker and more macabre. Even children's stories are like, whoa, these are spooky and weird. So one of the things that came to me in meditation when that trend started happening was to create a new reality, kind of a get real TV, a more beautiful version of what we want to see. And that was to take people and show the process of awakening and becoming, and take them through healing practices like tapping and doing yoga and learning to meditate and changing their diets and going through the awakening process and integrating that and showing it like stop motion photography, like after session 1, and they did their homework, and then we report and we
Right.
looked at their lives and how are you feeling about your relationships and your body and where are your finances and where are your opportunities to serve the world and how are you connecting. And we just watch them unfold like flowers over time. And you do this with a series of people, and then suddenly it's like a soap opera, but in reverse. Instead of being worried about the characters, you're rooting for them and you're watching them, real people grow and blossom. I feel so excited about this idea. And I feel like it would be endlessly fascinating to watch people forgive their parents and then have a reunion and, all the cool things that would happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you spoke up and shared this idea, and then it was very fascinating to watch because it was like, it seemed to have a really profound impact on you energetically as soon as it kind of came through and you spoke up in the group while we were doing this imagining process of, the future Earth.
What happened for me was that after I spoke it, I sat down and I looked at you and I kind of whispered, and I'm willing to do it. Like, it's not just an idea, but like, I'm willing to do it. And the minute I committed, I felt this lightning go off on my body. And then I felt this strange, like, pain and like kind of fear basically in my throat. My throat chakra just freaked out.
Wow.
And I started tapping because I know how to integrate and release fear. And I didn't want to cause a scene in this room. And I started tapping and then burping and burping. I must have burped 30 times. Luckily, I was on the back row. My body flushed with heat. You reached out, grabbed my hand. I put my hand on the top of my head. The top of my head got searing hot, like I was sitting under a heat lamp. My skull felt like it was spreading apart, and this kind of energy pain started coming out of the top of my head. Like 2 other people put their hands on me, and I'm trying not to disturb the group. I'm just quietly like tapping and breathing and integrating. Basically, what was happening was my biology was catching up with me proclaiming that I was ready and that I could feel that the world was ready. And I put that energy into the group, and all those people heard that idea and helped hold that idea in the field. They burst into applause when they heard the idea. So the idea started to roll and to move and to have life. And when I committed and the world said yes, my body popped, snapped, crackled, and popped into shape to allow this a reality to exist. And that my biology kind of caught up to it. And today I can talk to you about it without burping or crying.
Otherwise, this would be a little different episode. But it was, and as you spoke up and said, and then after you sat down, you said, and I'm willing to do it. And the energy and intent behind that was coming off of you was like really powerful. And, as I took that in, I'm like, wow, and it really, I think of these intervention type shows that have existed before where it's like sad and dark and, there's a lot of like substance abuse and things like that. And then I pictured you, on this, very different sort of an intervention. And of course and for those of you who don't know, who've never caught Sonya before, Sonya runs the World Tapping Circle and is an EFT practitioner, and which is an emotional freedom technique, basically tapping on the meridians of the body, sort of like acupuncture without needles, and using
Words.
Proclamations, words to unlock blockages in your system. It's like this simple yet profound experience to help clear, because what happens is all the trauma and things like this are stored physically in the body. And by tapping on these key meridians while you're making these statements that Sonya sort of steps you through, I always say it's like the perfect, and the reason we've partnered up and Sonya's been on a lot of shows is I feel like it is the perfect physical activity to go along with the sort of mental work that we're doing here with this show, and to help release a lot of these blockages, right? And so the picture of you and Sonya got such a powerful maternal energy, and to picture you going in and taking these people on a journey and using this wonderful tool that you've got in your tool belt of tapping to also assist in that process. That would be one of probably many things you would do what a powerful thing for the whole world to see, because, with each one of those people that you'd be working with, everyone will see themselves in them, or a lot of people. There'll be certain characters that they're like, oh my gosh, that's me. And then the viewer is going on that journey, and they're healing themselves along with, the subject. Right. So it's kind of like I said earlier, speaking up. There's so many people, if you speak up and ask your questions, that are, behind that question, that are resonating with that same energy, right? Right.
And we need a template. Now, it's been proven when I was studying human brain development and child development, because as a mother, I felt like I needed to know these things to help raise a healthy human being. One thing that really stuck out in the literature I was reading was that we need to see an example. And as soon as we see someone else be able to do it, when a toddler sees another kid be able to do something, they download the ability to do it, because now it's in the field of possibility, and their brain goes, oh, that's actually a part of this reality. Great. Now I can do it too. So we can replicate what we have templates for. But when we see people not being able to heal, not being able to forgive, not being able to recover from addiction, and we have this idea that people don't change and it takes time and you change a little bit, maybe not enough, and all these things, when you see the opposite proven, and you see, the blood chemistry is different, the emotional IQ has gone up, the choices are now easier and cleaner and healthier, the person's vitality, their relationships have healed, they're more abundant and prosperous, suddenly everybody benefits, because we now know that it's possible and normal to be able to fully recover.
Right. Yeah, it's so exciting. I can't wait to watch this unfold and come into the world, and it definitely feels like something that it will be. It already exists, right? And that's the beautiful thing about any of the ideas, guys, that you're resonating with out there. In this case, this was a powerful moment for Sonya that this came through. It's like, aha, like the light bulb goes on, right? And she's feeling and being as sensitive as she is, feeling all the energy tied to this experience, this journey that's already happened in the eternal now, right? So it's just like, it's almost like, during when you were having those experiences, Sandra was of course up on stage talking, and that's what she talks about all the time, and that's her whole kind of her jam, right? Shifting timelines, and that's really what you're doing. Is you're, from my perspective and opinion, you were saying, okay, I just made a vibrational choice to shift into the timeline where Sonya Sophia does this thing, right? And
the impact that has for so many people. And that's what's exciting. It's like, of course, I love the idea of doing it and getting to do that, and the fun of being in a studio and working with people, and the impact. Because the powers that were know the impact of showing us graphically with music and sound and images and symbolism. They're limiting our imagination when we feed ourselves with that version. And it actually confines us. But the same principle can be reversed. Show people what's possible, and suddenly we're liberated from watching it, because now it's a normal, natural thing. It's not weird to have a Kundalini experience. It's not weird to suddenly become more telepathic. It's not weird to have instant knowing or heat and light coming out of your body and being able to aim it in a healthy way to help another human being heal or evolve. Those are all normal skills. And that's part of what happens when we wake up and we take charge being in our power. We download our essence, clear the personality self, so it's not such a cloggy filter, and your soul is actually animating your body. That's what being in our power is about. And I feel on fire to bring more people into that possibility. And tapping is a very easy in to that process and consistently yields awesome results every time anybody puts any time into it.
Yeah, and I would recommend any of you guys who haven't tried it yet, definitely give it a try. I mean, you can do one session. Sonya actually set up a long time ago, many, many months ago, where she gave special pricing for you guys. If you go to worldtappingcircle.com/positive head, and you can even do one live session for what I think $5, or I would recommend at least trying it for a month, and that's $19. You get access to all the past taps. So any of you guys who haven't given that a try, I highly, highly recommend it. It's such a simple yet powerful and profound, way to remove the blockages of fear because really what's happening here, what are we talking about? You've heard me talking about, first, of course, this show. And then, I'm real excited about doing the optimistic show that I've been talking about. And now we're talking about Sonya's, what her calling is. And, even my talk at Conscious Media Festival was, how does someone get started? And how you get started is by first removing the fear. And your path, whoever is listening to this, whatever your path is, and you may not be as clear. Your idea might not have hit like a lightning bolt like Sonya's did this weekend yet, right? And that's fine. But what I will tell you is your path is going to lie in the direction of your fears, because, facing down our fears and overcoming any of that is I believe, a key ingredient to you becoming the next greatest and grandest version of yourself. And you can all, perfect is the enemy of good enough. That's something that I've said this weekend. Just getting started, just putting the ball in motion, especially if you're scared to do whatever it is you're feeling called to do, and there's so many of you guys out there that are just, you resonate with the same vibration that we resonate with, which is why you're listening and tuning in, and you have a gift that you're sitting on because you're still not quite sure of yourself or scared, or going out with an open heart and vulnerable and saying, hey, this may not be perfect, but I'm going to start down the road. It's so powerful, and it will be well received. And if you're coming from that place of willing to do it and step out in spite of your fears. And
the first thing you said, Brandon, when you were on that panel, you said, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. And that is, I think, the most important thing to being able to succeed with delivering your purpose is constantly checking, what is my belief telling me? Why do I feel limited? What am I afraid of? Continuing to clear those obstacles, because every level, there'll be a new opportunity to move forward or to hold yourself back based on your fear of other people's judgments or your own expectations. I should be here by now. Oh, I should have started. There's all these layers of things that anyone who does anything has to deal with and heal in order to keep going. So the fundamental tool that everybody needs is, how do I manage my emotional body consistently and move it forward in a way that's honest and authentic without just covering up my insecurities or numbing myself. Because if you do numb yourself or hide those insecurities, they'll pop up later and tear it down, because you actually haven't earned your own trust to be where you want to be. So you have to kind of keep updating your nervous system, eliminating fear, and then making choices again and again, sometimes many times a day, to keep going. And the people who do that actually succeed, and we end up respecting them, and they end up helping so many people with whatever their cool, funky, gorgeous new thing is that we all long for,
Yeah. Well said. And one of the things that I will kind of wrap this up with for today's episode is, once again, just really encouraging you guys to go to worldtappingcircle.com/positive head. Give it a try for at least a month, I would say. And, I have people reaching out to me all the time, Sonya, saying, how can I support the show more? How come you don't have a Patreon page, which is where people can donate money? And I've been very cautious about, this show is so sacred to me, and with monetization not being sort of any key factor whatsoever in anything that I do. And I've been blessed enough to have other sources of income where I haven't needed to focus on that. But, for any of you guys who've thought, okay, I want to support the show. Well, for one, Sonya, if you do, what I love about them going and doing tapping with you is, one, I know how powerful it is. So they're helping to heal themselves. They're also helping to support you and your incredible work. And there's a reason you and I are so closely connected and aligned. I just, everything about this woman, guys, is like pure heart, pure intent, and, truly authentically wanting to help create healing in the world. And she's doing it. And she's got so many wonderful, exciting things that are unfolding, and you're only going to see and hear more of her. So, you're supporting Sonya and Sonya's efforts. You're, part of those proceeds are also shared with Positive Head. So it is one of the few ways to contribute to the show, if that's something that a lot of you are desiring to do. And and most importantly, it's going to help yourself and removing those. It's such a, a lot of times people don't think about removing emotional blockages in the body to push the next greatest and greatest version of themselves forward. But it's actually like a key piece of the puzzle.
It's imperative. And there's one more benefit, Brandon, which we talked about before we started recording, but I want to loop back in, which is it's a way to stay connected to others who are like-minded and keep building this global community. We have a global community of people who are meeting up in the tapping circle and tapping together regularly. It's a live stream. It's 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern every Monday, including today. And it's also replay video. So there's people in all kinds of different time zones tapping along, and it's building the energetic field of people doing their inner work and moving the revolution and the evolution of our species forward. It's pumping the field with that genuine willingness to humble down, remember where we went astray, what choices we made, what memories are still plaguing us, clean them up, reset ourselves, and choose again. And so there's this very powerful community aspect on a spiritual level, an energetic level, and an emotional level. We see people's names in the chat room coming up again and again. We get familiar with, oh, you're here every week and you're so devoted to yourself and we love you and we egg you on for, just like you listening to Brandon, you get to be a person that other people see your name come up. And they go, oh, you're still here, and I love you for that. So there's a sense of really building community, and we meet up at festivals. People recognize each other, like, oh, I'm in the tapping circle. So it's building a beautiful network. And there's something that I know I took, and I think everyone who went to the Conscious Media Festival came away saying, I'm not alone. I'm not alone anymore.
And that's a key thing is, I think people probably listen to my stories sometimes of, I just shared all these magical stories from, the Superhero Academy Mastermind Meetup and Envision Festival and now the Conscious Media Festival. And what's the sort of key component that I come back to? Well, there's a container created when all these high vibe people get together on the same wavelength. And that's really something that I talk about over and over again. So for those of you who are like, man, that sounds great. I wish I could do that. But, it's sort of just not within reach at this point, I live in Missouri and, these festivals are in California or Costa Rica or whatever. And so this is a wonderful way to create that group resonance, that group vibration virtually with the live tapping circles. As Sonya said, of course, you can always go and the archives are available to you, and it's powerful to do, replaying. But I definitely recommend if you can get into that collective vibration of people all around the world tapping together with Sonya leading. That is like sort of the extra juicy version of the experience. And you are being affected by the collective field that's being created between you and all the other people in those live events.
It's true. And we train practitioners. So people come into the tapping circle, they work on themselves, and they're like, oh, wow, I actually want to know how to do this to help other people in my life or my friends, my family. I want to start a practice. And then we meet up together in person. And you get to really fall in love with other people who are doing the same thing. And you have lifelong friends that come out of this. So it's a way to start by feeling a little more anonymous. I feel very private about these things. I feel vulnerable. I feel embarrassed or ashamed. No one can see you or hear you. And you're still being held in a group space and being loved. And you're tapping with me or one of the other Team Love members who sometimes lead the circle. And I'm building it out so that you do get more variety. Sometimes you want a man to lead you. Sometimes you want a woman. But there's a sense of we can't do it without the technology we have now. Like it used to be, you do something through a book or you do something in person. And this is this weird mix of, I don't need a babysitter. I don't have to get dressed up. I don't have to go anywhere, but I'm still like someone's coming to me, but I'm still being held in a big group. It's a really cool new thing that we can only do with modern technology. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Sonya, it's so lovely to continue our weekend in this way. And thank you for taking the time to come on and share your wisdom and your experiences. And once again, guys, if you do feel called to go and connect on the World Tapping Circle, go to worldtappingcircle.com/positive head. And we'd also love to hear any of your experiences and feedback in the Facebook group, which is Positive Heads. If you're not already in there, definitely get in there. Otherwise, I do have a track to leave you guys with today. This is Serge Devant, and this song is Thinking of You featuring Camille Sophia. It's a Serge Devant's floor cut, and really, really cool track to get the week going, or to end the week if you're listening to this at the end of a week. It's getting my week going for sure. Sonya, thank you so much for taking the time to connect. So much love for you.
So much love for you, Brandon. Keep up the good work, my friend.
I definitely will. And until next time, journey well. If you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear me constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positive head. That's spelled GAIA.com/positive head. Check it out.